everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Megan. Earlier this year, I uploaded a video about moving to Australia on a 482 visa. In that video, I shared my experience about how we were able to get it, the entire process of working together with our immigration lawyer as well. If you would like to learn more about that one, then I will link the video that I'm talking about up here somewhere. More recently, however, I have been receiving also some questions relating to that video. So I thought that this would be a good time for me to do a follow-up to that one and maybe turn it into a series on living overseas on my own slash, with my partner. I say on my own because I don't really have any friends or family here when I moved here, and I've never been to Australia prior to moving here, so I did have quite an interesting experience being in a country for the first time and fully committing to living here. But in today's topic, taking some cues from the questions that I was receiving from that video, I wanted to talk about the part where I was leaving home, what I packed, immigration questions that I had, and the flights that we took, and ultimately what happened when we landed here. So if you are interested in hearing more about my experience, then definitely hit that like button, and also if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do hit that subscribe button below and tick the notification bell so that you can be notified whenever I upload new videos like this. Okay, so if you are ready, then let's just get started. First of all, I want to say thank you to everyone who said that they found my video very helpful and even asked me more questions, because it makes me so happy that that video was actually helping people and that I was able to give the information that people couldn't find elsewhere or couldn't really find the right answers to. And of course, as always, if you have any questions about visas, moving to a different country, it is always best to consult with a professional. If you can get in touch with an immigration lawyer or someone who is in that field, then definitely do so. Of course, I'm happy to share my experience and answer your questions to the best of my ability, but always please take what I say with a grain of salt and do more research. So I'm just gonna say this first, that I might start talking in Taglish just in case it makes it easier for me to explain it. If I do so, then I will put an English subtitle here. I'm speaking in English as well, so that if there are other people who are watching this outside of the Philippines and hopefully find it useful, that's why I'm trying to speak English. Also, let's not mind the big pimple that I have right now. It's just trying to get some airtime on the camera. Anyway, on to the topic. Okay, so if you're coming from that first video that I had about moving to Australia, then it wasn't long after we got our approval for the visa that we decided to pack our bags and move here. And that's because as soon as the approval was with us, it was already valid, which meant that the 2-year visa that we had was going to end at this coming 2022. It was good for us to be able to maximize this full 2 years that we had on this visa, especially as this visa is sponsored by my partner's company. So they needed him to come to work here as soon as possible. And if you watch that video, I also explain what it means to be on the temporary skills shortage visa 482 as a primary holder, which is my fiance, and a secondary holder, which is myself. Go ahead and watch that if you haven't yet. Okay, so we booked our flights and we were bound to leave in about 2 weeks from that. No, sorry, maybe just less than 2 weeks from when we received it. So within that less than 2-week period that we had before the flight, we had to prepare everything that we needed. It was a bit chaotic, really, because I had to also file for my resignation from the work that I had before in the Philippines, so that was quite quick. Thankfully, they understood, and I was actually quite open with my manager at the time that I was applying for a visa here, so potentially I could be moving. And so she knew. It wasn't that difficult for me to have that conversation with her as soon as I got the visa. In fact, they were all very happy for me because they knew that I really wanted this. Moving on, the next question that I was also getting was that, what did I pack? What did I bring? Okay, so let's talk about that for a little bit. So this was me thinking that it would not be too long after I left that my parents would come and visit me. So ang akala ko, they would be able to visit me a few months after I arrived here, once we were settled in. So I tried to fit everything in 2 suitcases. You know, the basics like clothes, toiletries, shoes, and everything else that I pretty much thought I might need to live here and function here. Like, for example, my flat iron, my laptop, my tablet, different chargers, different bags, things that I did not want to have to buy once I got here. I really tried to fit as much as I can so that I didn't have to buy so many things once I got here. Of course, things like towels and other toiletries, I was pretty happy to just buy here because I knew that they had Chemist Warehouses like a drugstore, and also just they have all these parang Watsons, ganon. They have everything. But ayun nga, we did not know that COVID was gonna happen. So I was stuck with the 2 suitcases that I have. And I am still living off of those 2 suitcases, and I just ended up buying the rest of my things here instead of having my stuff shipped from the Philippines and hassle my parents pa. Aside from that, I also took with me the documents that I needed to fly. So this is all your pretty standard stuff. Passport booking, flight booking, visa grant, which was the parang approval of the visa. So our immigration lawyer emailed that to us, and we had it printed out, but I also had it in my phone. And also pocket money. Pocket money, I was also asked about this. It wasn't really a requirement that was given to me or to my partner. I think I maybe brought about 10K USD, and this amount was not something that our immigration lawyer told me to bring. In fact, she didn't tell me to bring pocket money, but I just knew that I needed money. We needed money because as soon as we got here, we'd essentially be living here. It wasn't like a tourist situation where I needed a set amount of money. It was more of how much money do I need to be able to afford to rent a flat, to buy my essentials, to feed myself every day until I find a job. That's it. Because I was coming here without work and I needed to sustain myself, obviously. And you know, my partner and I, we are a modern couple. We like to split things, but we also like to support each other. So the pocket money wasn't really something that was required of me, but I brought anyway as just my thinking of being prepared. I can't really advise you on how much you need to bring. Just think about what you'll need when you get here, like paying for rent, paying for your food, maybe if you needed clothes or if you needed to commute as well. Get that into consideration. Maybe do some research on how much rent is here. You can find places na you can share houses with other people. It depends on what your setup is. And I can also probably do a video on that separately on how we were able to find our flat. So those are the usual travel documents that we always bring, even as a tourist. We bring passport, boarding pass, visa grant, and then pocket money, diba? And then other documents that I thought I might need, I also brought with me. Not necessarily for the immigration part, but just I thought at some point when I started living here that I might need it. So I brought my Philippine license as a secondary ID. They do actually accept the license here, like at bars when we go. They really check the ID here kasi. So if you're not 18 or over, you have to be 18 or over to be able to buy alcohol, order alcohol in a restaurant, etc. So I use my license for that. I can also actually use my license here to drive until I become PR, which is when I will need to apply for an Aussie license or a Queensland license. I'm not sure, I haven't looked into that yet. I also brought my PSA birth certificate. So this one you can just order online. When I got it, I think I ordered like 3 copies just in case I needed it. The third one, I also brought an NBI clearance with me. It was actually part of our visa application. I'm not sure. I think it was. But I only had to submit a scanned hard copy of it, so it was all digital. So I still had the physical copy with me, so I brought it with me. Number 4 is the OR for our medical exam from St. Luke's. When we were applying for the visa, we were required to get a medical exam from one of their accredited hospitals, and St. Luke's in BGC was one of the accredited hospitals. So if you're wondering, that's where we got it. It was about 7,000 pesos for each of us, I think. So it's a bit pricey, pero kailangan eh. So we had to do it. That one, St. Luke's actually emailed it to, can't remember, maybe the embassy. We never saw the actual paper of the results, but we did have the OR. So I brought the OR with me. I was trying to really over-prepare so that whatever happens, I have a document to back it up. So that's a tip that I would have for you, is to just try to over-prepare and think about the things that you might need, even though you're likely not to need it. I keep getting sidetracked, napapakwento ko. Anyway, I hope you're finding this super helpful. Number 5 is a copy of my transcript of records from school. So sobrang tagal na since I graduated, but I still have a few copies of the original TOR. I don't think you need an original copy anyway. I just brought it in case they needed it here when I started job hunting, because I wasn't sure what the requirements were at that stage. I will tell you though na walang nag-require sa akin ng TOR or diploma, but I don't know if that's because of the visa that I have. I don't know, but my resume will have all of my credentials as well. Also, by the way, I was also ready with some referral letters or reference letters from previous companies that I worked with, so I could make another video as well about job hunting here if you want me to, and just comment that down below. And then of course, if I have my DOR, I also have a copy of my resume at the time. I totally changed it as soon as I started job hunting because I realized that the format was different here. I needed to highlight different things. I just changed that completely. Number 7 is my vaccination card from the Bureau of Quarantine. This was before COVID, so the vaccine that I had on that card was polio. It wasn't required, pero my parents suggested that I got it because there are some countries who require this. Again, they didn't ask me for this when I got here. I think it was just handy that I had it. And number 8 is my Globe SIM card. Okay, I didn't think this was gonna be useful when I did this, but now I'm realizing how useful it is. Thank you, past self, for doing this. Anyway, I brought my Globe SIM card because I still had accounts in the Philippines na nakalink sa number na yun. So from time to time, I need to access it. I'm on a postpaid plan with Globe. So I went to them and I said I might need to cancel my plan because I don't know what to do kasi lilipat ako. The person that I was talking to suggested na I downgraded to this parang, I think it's 50 pesos or 25 pesos. Hindi ko matandaan. It's basically this plan that just keeps your number and SIM card active na parang rolling monthly. So I can still receive texts like verification codes if I needed to, and I can still, you know, access whatever accounts I needed to if I needed that number. Okay, so the next part is the flights. I briefly talked about this earlier, but I wanted to make a section for this specifically because I did have some questions about it as well. So we took a flight with Air Niugini, which I think is Papua New Guinea's flag carrier, and we had one stopover, which was in Papua New Guinea. So it was from Manila to Brisbane with a stopover in Papua New Guinea, which was about 1 hour. Total flight was mga 8 hours. We flew on a Saturday evening, mga 9 p.m. ganyan. And so we arrived here ng mga 5 a.m. So that's about 8 hours in total with the stopover. However, Brisbane is 2 hours ahead of Manila. No daylight savings here, so it's always 2 hours ahead of Manila. So when we arrived here, it was actually 7 a.m. na here. And then when we got here, we just took an Uber to where our Airbnb is. We initially decided to get an Airbnb first before we committed to a flat because we wanted to be able to scout the different suburbs that they had here. So we wanted to make sure that where we were gonna live was gonna be beneficial for us in terms of location, price, community, etc. So I can also make a video about that. Let's just let me know in the comment section below. And of course, the last topic that I want to cover for this video is the immigration and my experience with it. There were so many questions about this one, so I think if magkwento na lang ako ng experience ko, I hope that it will be able to answer the questions lingering in your heads. Okay, immigration, right? Sa Philippines muna. So I went to the airport with my fiance and I had to pay for the travel tax. And then we got our boarding pass and then we had to go through immigration. Immigration in the Philippines, my partner and I had to be separated because he's British, so he's on a foreign passport. So they had the Philippine passport section and the foreign passport section if you've been to the airport before. I was actually really nervous because the whole point of me flying at the same time as my partner was that I wanted to make sure na they would let me through immigration because I had a secondary visa and I wasn't sure what that meant. Wala din akong kilala who has been on the same visa who knew what the experience was gonna be like. So I think this is actually gonna be helpful for a lot of people because even though I did fly with my partner, technically magkahiwalay pa din kami when we went through the immigration. Like, he was in a completely different line. The questions that I had running through my head was like, wala pa akong work dito. What if they ask me, anong gagawin ko dito? Or what if ayaw lang nila akong papasukin, diba? Anyway, wala naman ako magagawa, nandito na, diba? So I just tried to think na I have everything that I think I'll need, everything that I mentioned earlier. So sana sapat na yun when I go to the immigration person and they start asking me questions if they do. So it was my turn na. I handed my passport, my boarding pass, and my visa grant. I even had an envelope full of documents na parang medyo pinapakita ko just in case he wanted more. Also had the Airbnb confirmation of where we were gonna stay. Same as if you were on a tourist visa, you need like an accommodation confirmation. And then he didn't ask me any questions. All done. And I don't know if that experience was just my own, but my thinking, and don't take my word for this, the visa grant that I have actually states everything that I can and cannot do here in Australia. And what I can do here is actually live and work in any industry without any restrictions, like on the number of hours. I can work full-time, I can work part-time, I can work in any location. Whereas my partner's visa grant, bilang siya yung primary visa holder, his visa grant actually says na he can only work for the company who nominated him or who sponsored him, and he has to stay within that industry. It said lang na as a secondary visa holder, my visa is dependent on my partner's. So I think they really look at the primary visa holder for what they need. So my visa wouldn't actually be valid if his wasn't. When we arrived here in Australia, it was the same. When I went through immigration, I showed lang my passport, boarding pass, visa grant, and the Airbnb. And they even returned the visa grant papers to me because I think when they look up my passport in the system, it was already visible what visa I had. Very digitized here, by the way. Even paying for your tax, you can do it all online and it's all automatically calculated. Yun. I didn't have any problems with the immigration in the Philippines. It was quite smooth, and I didn't have any problems as well with the immigration here in Australia. In fact, they were quite friendly and they were like, oh, welcome. Hope you enjoy your stay here. 2 years, ganyan. May chika pa sila. Mahilig sila mag-chika dito. So, yan lang. So, that's it for all of the topics that I wanted to cover for this video. I hope that I was able to answer most of the questions that you had. The next video that I'm planning to make is either about adjusting to Brisbane or finding a place here in Brisbane to live in. Let me know which one you'd want me to do. I'm happy to share our experiences. And of course, as always, if you have other questions relating to this one, then leave them in the comment section below. Sana talaga nakatulong ako because I really had a lot of questions and I understand how you are all feeling. Because when I was going through the visa process myself, wala din ako makitang information about it. So I thought that by sharing my experience with you, that you might find some of the information helpful. And sana, for those of you who are also applying for the visa, I hope that you get it and I hope that you have a smooth experience with everything. Yeah, and good luck. So that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy it, please do hit that like button. And also, if you haven't yet, subscribe to my channel below to see more videos like this from me in the future. Okay, everyone, I'll see you next week for another new video on my channel. Again, my name is Megan. Bye!